everybody, my name is Mr. Francy and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. Today I am finally completing my May monthly wrap. If you are new to the channel, for the past couple of months I've been doing my monthly wraps in two parts. So the most recent video prior to this one was my May monthly wrap part 1, and if you would like to see more about the books that I read in the first half of May, you can go and check out that video. Today I'm going to go through the books that I read in the second half of May, but at the beginning of this video, I'm going to go through my stats for the entire month, and then I'm going to give you a quick preview of those books that I read in the first half of May and tell you what the star ratings were that I gave for them. Then we'll go into more detail and discuss the books that I read in the second half of May. That took a while to explain. Let's jump right on in. Here are the stats up on the screen in 3, 2, 1, go. For the month of May, I read a total of 12 books comprising of 2 fantasies, 5 cozy mysteries, 1 paranormal, 1 horror, 1 LGBTIQ+, 1 classic, and 1 picture book. To my age groups, I had 3 YA, 7 adult, and 2 middle grades. To my lengths, I read 2 tomes, 1 3/4 tome, 7 half tomes, and 2 novellas, totaling 3,991 pages. And yes, it does irk me that I was so close to 4,000. To my star ratings, and I was seriously all over the shop. In the month of May, I had 4 5 stars, 1 4.5 star, 3 4 stars, and 4 3 stars. Good news was that there weren't any 2 or 1 star, but yeah, really all over the shop in the month of May. Alright, let's quickly go through the books that I discussed in part 1 to tell you what they were and the star ratings I gave, and then we'll go into the books that I read in the second half of May. So, in the first half of May, here we go. The first book that I read was this book, Ruthless Fae, which is book number 2 in the Zodiac Academy mystery series by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti. This is an adult fantasy, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. The next book I read was this book, The Lost Book of the White by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. This is book number 2 in the Eldest Curses series. It is a YA fantasy, and I gave this book 4 stars. The next book I read was this book, The Final Winter, just Final Winter, by Ian Rob Wright. This is an adult horror. It is book number 3 in the Damien Verse series, and I gave this book 5 stars. The next book that I read was this book, Pulp Friction, which is by Julie Ann Lindsay. It is an adult cozy mystery and is book number 2 in the Cider Shop mystery series, and I gave this book 3 stars. The next book that I read was this book, Death and Daisies by Amanda Flower. This is book number 2 in the Magic Garden mystery series. It is an adult cozy mystery, and I gave this book 4 stars. And the final book that I read in the first half of May was this book, The First to Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This is book number 0 in the They Both Die at the End series, or the Death Cast, I should say, series. And I gave this book 5 stars. I just want to make certain of that, actually. So They Both Die at the End is book number 1, and The First to Die at the End is book number 0. The series title is called the Death Cast series, and so therefore The First to Die at the End is book number 0 in the Death Cast series. That being said, now let's talk about all the books that I read in the second half of May. So the next book that I read was this book, Pros and Cons by Amanda Flower. This is an adult cozy mystery, and it is book number 2 in the Magical Bookshop mystery series, and I gave this book 4 stars. So the premise of this one is that Violet is with the Red Anchors as they're having a meeting the night before they are to host a poetry reading of the works of Edgar Allan Poe. The following morning, Anastasia, one of the members of Red Anchor, cannot be found, and as her turn to read approaches nearer, Violet goes off to look for her. She eventually finds her dead in the kitchen, but what is what seemingly looks like an accidental death actually murder? And why is Violet's friend Sadie being accused of the murder when she would never hurt a fly? Against Chief Officer Rainwater's requests, Violet sets out to solve the case. Okay, so to my thoughts on this one, look, this book, even with only 100 pages left, was destined for 5 stars from me. I love the plot, the mystery, the animals, the characters, the bookstore, the cozy aspects, everything. It's definitely a world I've fallen in love with, and I cannot wait to read book 3. However, what was with the reveal? Arguably the worst reveal I've ever read in an Amanda Flower book, which is saying something, as all of Amanda Flower's reveals for me that I've read so far to this point have been amazing. So I have a spoiler discussion of my thoughts and feelings on the actual reveal if you have read the book over on my Goodreads, so feel free to go ahead and check that out. I have to say that reveal was a big letdown for me, but everything else was good, so that's good. So I will continue on with the series because I absolutely love it to this point, but ultimately had to knock off a star because of the really big letdown of a reveal, and ultimately gave this book 4 stars. So the next book that I read was this book, Aladdin by Walt Disney. I am classifying this as a middle grade fantasy, and I gave this book 5 stars. A very quick backstory in case you did not see the reading vlog where I was talking about this book. For my birthday, my mum and I went shopping at our, what you might call in America, local mall, and it was a great day. We went to all these different stores, we're looking at all these different things, and then in one store I came across this picture book of Aladdin and told my mum how happy I was to see it because I had been looking for a copy of Aladdin, the animated edition, as a book ever since I started this channel and hadn't found one anywhere. And so then came across that one and was very happy. My mum ended up purchasing it for me, and now I own this and I'm so thrilled. And if you know of anywhere where I can get alternate animated versions of the animated version of Aladdin, the film, as a book, let me know, because I would love to have 10, 20 different editions of Aladdin on my bookshelves. I do not want the compendium of short stories called 1001 Arabian Nights that Aladdin originally featured in. I just want Aladdin as a standalone, but it needs to be the canonical animated film work and not the live action one. Alright, so let's talk about the book. So the premise of this book is that we follow a boy by the name of Aladdin, who is a street urchin who has been living off of whatever scraps he can find. Jasmine is a princess who is being forced to marry a prince, but wants to marry for love. Jafar, the Sultan's advisor, wants to marry Jasmine and rule Agrabah. But when Jafar finds the Cave of Wonders with a lamp inside that will grant him 3 wishes, he's advised that only one may enter the cave, that one being Aladdin. Jafar tracks down Aladdin to retrieve the lamp for him, but doesn't calculate one thing. Aladdin's pet monkey Abu steals the lamp back, and while he and Aladdin are trapped in the cave, they discover the lamp's genie, and now the 3 wishes are theirs. Is there a way for Aladdin to have his happily ever after, or will Jafar get his revenge? So to my thoughts on this book, look, as I say, I've been looking for it for a very long time, so I was so happy to finally have it. The book's illustrations were exactly that of the animated movie I grew up loving, and the book stayed 100% true to the animated film. It was a fantastic book, so happy that I have it, and I'm sure there'll be many, many more reads to come. I love Aladdin as a main character protagonist turned hero. I related to Aladdin growing up when I was watching the film as a child. I love also the character of Jafar. He's probably my favorite villain of all time. Yes, he is maniacal, but he's extremely calculated, and I love that about him as a villain. I've found that a lot of villains that I've read about or watched since watching the Disney animated version of Aladdin have let me down in comparison to Jafar. So there you go. But yeah, I love this story and gave it an overwhelming 5 stars. So the next book that I read was this book, A Perilous Pal by Laura Bradford. This is book number 2 in the Friend for Hire mystery series. It is an adult cozy mystery, and I gave this book 5 stars. Up to this point, this is the latest book published in the series. There has been talk, apparently, from what I've been told, there has been talk of Laura Bradford releasing another book in this series. If she does, I will definitely read it. This is probably I don't know if I can say this, but I feel like this is probably my favorite cozy mystery series, which is interesting because I didn't think anything would ever topple Amish Candy Shop by Amanda Flower. But this series, the Friend for Hire mystery series, is so extremely cozy that it probably is my favorite cozy mystery series that I've read of all time. So I'm hoping that there are more books in the series, but for where we are at so far, it's only a duology, and I loved both books. So the premise of this one is that we continue to follow Emma Westlake and her friend for hire business. One day, while at her octogenarian friend Dottie's house, Emma receives an email from a woman who seems to be quite down on her luck. She's spent her whole life caring for and indeed living for her husband and her 2 children, but her husband has now left her for someone only a few years older than her son, and both children have flown the coop and don't need her anymore. Emma decides to meet up with the woman, and the pair discuss things they could potentially do together. The woman suggests things like going to a dessert bar and maybe having a book club, and multiple ways they could kill her ex for revenge. The following morning, the ex winds up dead, and Emma's client is taken into custody for his death. But Emma knows she's innocent, and with the persuasion of Dottie, they come together to try and solve the case. So to my thoughts, I love this series so much. It is cozy to the extreme. The idea of friend for hire for the cozy side of the book makes so much sense. Add to that Dottie and Emma's dog Scout, and it's a recipe for an amazing journey. I'm sad that I'm up to date with the series and just live on some sort of hope that Laura Bradford releases another book in this series soon. 5 stars from me. It is a fantastic time, and if you're looking for an extremely cozy mystery series, I highly recommend the Friend for Hire series, and I will be doing my CSL, Completed SAS List review on this series incredibly soon as I have time. Fantastic series. 5 stars for this book. So the next book that I read was this book, Death of a Cupcake Queen by Lee and Hollis. This is book number 6 in the Haley Powell. Can't believe I stumbled there. I've read so many of them and it's an important series to me. The Haley Powell Food and Cocktail Mystery Series. It is an adult cozy mystery and I gave this book 3 stars. So here is the premise of this one. In this one, Haley Powell and her friends are invited to the high school reunion. While there, the queen bee from back in their high school days, who was mostly horrible to Haley and her friends, is murdered. So Haley, as has become the accepted norm now, sets out to solve the case. So to my thoughts, let's start with that. How in the world has it just become the norm that Haley will solve cases? It literally actually says in this book that the officer, her brother's boyfriend, was telling her everything while they were at the crime scene because he knew she'd be sleuthing and that it would help her. Wait, what? I thought most cops told cozy protagonists to stop and please don't look into this like last time, but apparently in this one, it's just suddenly accepted. Okay, next the mystery. I'm sorry, but to me, I found this boring. I've seen this whole mystery done before where we have the queen bee that most people love, but the main character hates. They're murdered at a reunion, no less. Class reunions are murdered by Libby Klein. It's the exact same story, different characters, done in a different way. Yep, I can grant that, but still, I've seen this mystery before. So it bored me because I've seen it before, if that makes sense. So yeah. You know, that kind of annoyed me, and I had no interest in it. But the backstory that came with the reveal was good. Intriguing, I'd even go as far to say, but the reveal itself, just like with Pros and Cons, was extremely lazy. Honestly, the saving grace was everything outside of the mystery for me. I love the Haley Powell Island Food and Spirits column that Haley Powell writes, and love seeing all the recipes and how they connect to whatever it is that's in Haley's column at that point. I love her brother Randy and love continuing to see his relationship with Sergio. It's nice also seeing her relationship, that is Hayley's, with her daughter Gemma. And though he only had one memorable why can't I talk? And though he only had one memorable line, it was good to see her son, that is Hayley's son, too. I've always loved Mona, so enjoyed the moments with her also, Mona being Hayley Powell's best friend, but everything else just came across as rather blah, and I'm hoping for better in the next one. I gave it 3 stars. I am going to give you a heads up. So in book 4, in this series, there is some fat shaming that occurs that I didn't know if I wanted to continue with or not. I decided to pick up book 5 and see if Leah and Hollis had learned their lesson. To me, in book 5, they had. In this particular book, it seems that there was some subtle hinting towards potential fat shaming, but it is extremely subtle, so extremely subtle that some may even miss it when they're reading it. So for me, because it was so extremely subtle, I am going to move on to the next one and see if they've completely gotten rid of it altogether. All in all, the book got 3 stars from me, but as I say, it was purely because of the mystery. I've seen it done before, and because I've seen it done before, it was boring for me. Nothing against Lee and Hollis. I look forward to reading the next one. So the next book I picked up was this book, Blue Moon by Alison Noel. This is book number 2 in the Immortal series, and I actually got this wrong on my statistics, so I'm going to apologize for that. According to Goodreads, this is a young adult fantasy, whereas I marked it down as a young adult paranormal. So the stat at the beginning of this video where I said I read 1 paranormal, we'll just forget about that and pretend that I said it was a fantasy, and we'll just move along. So yeah, this is book number 2 in the Immortal series, and I also gave this book 3 stars. So yeah, I end up having a bit of an average end to my month. But anyway, so okay, what can I tell you? The premise of this entire series as a whole is that we follow Eva, who ends up receiving these abilities where, I don't know, it's kind of looked upon like psychic abilities, I guess you could say. And in book 1, she struggles with it because she doesn't want these abilities at all, and she tries to do everything she can to not have to deal with them. So this is book 2. That wasn't telling you a lot, but that's telling you at least a bit about the magic fantasy side of it. So I enjoyed book 1. I gave it 5 stars, but the premise of this one is that, Eva is trying to get a handle on her abilities, but then Damien, who is her boyfriend, is struck by a mysterious illness, and his powers are beginning to fade. Then suddenly Damon no longer likes her. In fact, he is weirded out by her, and everyone else begins to act strangely around her too, begging the question, what's going on around here? I mean, enter Timon from The Lion King. What's going on around here?
Hey! What's going on here?
Okay, look, so the beginning of the book was good. I was happy being back with Eva and Damon and seeing Eva trying to get used to her abilities, but then the plot went into the weird place where Damon was weirded out by her, and it just annoyed me as we only just met him in the last book, so it felt too soon. There is a moment that happened towards the end that I really appreciated, but it is a spoiler, so feel free to go ahead and check out my Goodreads review because I have it under a spoiler tag. But then we hit the final climactic ending that sets us up potentially for the rest of the series, and that truly let me down. If you want more thoughts on that as well, I have that under a spoiler tag as well on my Goodreads review, so feel free to check that out also. I hope I'm wrong and that the final climax wasn't the setup for the rest of the series. If I am, fantastic. If we deal with that ending in book 3, fantastic. But if not, I fear that the series will turn out not to be for me. And after my love of book 1, that would be a massive letdown. So, yeah, I'll go through more, I'll go through more in my reading vlog. I have a reading vlog coming up after this one where I'll do a deep dive discussion into Blue Moon as well as the next 2 books that I read this week. But yeah. This one it felt like we were given a plot that for me personally, emotionally, I don't think was the right time to deal with. I wasn't ready for it at all. And just because I'm not ready for something doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing. But in this particular case, it did. I really don't want to give away spoilers because there are spoilers that I could definitely give away here. Maybe I'll do that in the reading vlog. But, you know, for the sake of just giving you a spoiler-free thoughts and feelings on it, for the sake of the monthly wrap, yeah, Alison Noel decided to go somewhere in book 2, and I just felt that it was too early to do this sort of thing. And then when we got to there was a big climax thing that came with a big reveal at the end of the book, and I felt like that's going to set me up for something that I'm not going to enjoy for the rest of the series. But as I said earlier, if we deal with that thing by the end of book 3, then that's fine, because it will only last for one book, and I'll be able to deal with that. But if this becomes a setup for the rest of the series, I'm not going to enjoy it, and I'll probably end up being an effing, which is sad, because I love book 1 and gave it 5 stars. But for this one, book 2, I gave it 3 stars. So therefore, to the final book that I read in the month of May, and that was this book, which is Prince Caspian by C.S. Lewis. This is a middle grade classic and book 4 in the Chronicles of Narnia series, and I gave this book 3 stars. So we are doing a Chronicles of Narnia series buddy read over on my Discord. Feel free to come along and join us over there and join us for the buddy read if you would like. Link, as always, is in the description. So yeah, this is book number 4. I believe there are 7. I'm just going to confirm that. Yes, there are 7 books in the series, so I'm over halfway now. They're all novellas. I appreciate that. They're quick reads. Let's talk about this one. So in this one, we go back to following Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. The reason I'm saying this is because we didn't follow Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy in book 3, and I don't think we followed them in book 2 either. Oh no, wait, hang on. Yes, we did. Book 2 is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So in book 1, we haven't met Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy yet. We meet them in book 2, which is the famous story in this series, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. In book 3, we don't follow them, but in this one, in book 4, we go back to following them. This time, they're back at home on a bus on the way back to school when suddenly they are pulled back into Narnia. It seems the rightful prince, who should be king, has fled the castle for fear of the current illegitimate king is going to kill him. So he's used Susan's horn to call for help, and that's what's brought them there. But can they actually assist the prince? Only time will tell. So to my thoughts on this book, and look, to me, this is spoiler-free. There is a time jump at the beginning of this book, and that absolutely let me down. I think it was of hundreds of years, but if not, at the very least, it was 100 years. So it's not only is it a time jump, but it's a huge time jump. It was very off-putting for me, as I don't like even the smallest of time jumps, as it plays with the continuity of a series. But I did enjoy following the original characters again, and the new characters were fun to meet, but the time jump weighed on me a lot. I need to give a massive shout out to Lynn Redgrave, who narrated the book. She did an amazing job, and I hope to hear more of her narrated works in the future. Yeah, I'll quickly just talk a bit about that. Lynn Redgrave, I don't think I've seen her in anything. I know she's a huge actress, but I just don't think that any of the films she's been in that I've particularly watched. But she narrated this book, and oh my goodness, she did an amazing job. The story wasn't extremely captivating for me, but she made it extremely captivating for me, if that makes sense. So I have so much credit for Lynn Redgrave in comparison to C.S. Lewis and what C.S. Lewis wrote. But look, I have to say, I don't like time jumps. I don't like them at all. If you're going to time jump 1 month, you're going to annoy me. So if you're time jumping hundreds or 100 years, yeah, you're really annoying me, because I much rather not time jump 100 years into the future and just pick up where we left off. I mean, is it so hard? And am I alone on this? Please let me know in the comment section below. If I am alone, then that's fine. But if you agree with me, let me know. To me, it is just so annoying in any series when you go when you finish a book in a series and you end in a particular place, and then you go to the next book, eager to see what comes next, and what you find out that comes next is a massive time jump. and we need to find out somehow what has happened during all that time instead of picking up right where we left off. I don't know why authors do this. It just really annoys me. But anyway, maybe there's a reason. Maybe I'm gonna say that I was wrong when I get into this series, but I highly doubt it because, yeah, I love the world of Narnia, so to jump ahead at least 800, if not hundreds of years into the future really was extremely off-putting for me. But all in all, I love the characters. I love Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. They're all siblings, but they're all different in their own way, and I appreciate each character for who they are and what they bring to the story. And I love that we were following them again. I also loved meeting Prince Caspian. I thought he was a great prince, and yeah, really enjoyed him as a character, and all the new characters that we were following. I just, yeah, was really extremely let down by the time jump, and I absolutely took that out on the rating, and that's why this book got 3 stars from me. But that is it. Those are all the books that I read in the month of May. And now for everyone's favourite game that we like to call, imagine me holding up all the books as I say up, 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 up. These are all the books I read in the month of May 2023. What books did you read in the month of May 2023? Let me know in the comments below. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it. Letting you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye, everyone.